Welcome to my channel. The first time I looked at myself in heels, I didn't recognize the person staring back. My name is Ethan, and on the surface, I'm an ordinary 24-year-old graphic designer, living a routine life in the bustling heart of the city. Deadlines, emails, and the monotony of office life define my days. But behind closed doors, I chase a secret world where I can be someone entirely different. It started as a fascination I couldn't explain. The way a dress clings to curves, the subtle power of makeup, the thrill of slipping into another persona. It consumed me. Not out of rebellion, not for attention, but for the pure, dizzying sense of freedom. I've spent years perfecting this hidden art, a life tucked away in a corner of my small apartment, where soft lights illuminate the textures of fabrics, the shine of stockings, and the vibrant colors of lipsticks I'd never dare wear in public. Then there's Isabella. She doesn't just walk into a room. She commands it. Confident, fearless, and sharp, she has this way of seeing through people, peeling back layers without saying a word. When she first noticed my nervous glances at her heels or the way I lingered over makeup displays at stores, she didn't judge. Instead, she smiled mischievous, like she already knew my secret and was daring me to act on it. Our apartment became a stage for my dual life. The living room was bright, modern, a reflection of her bold energy. But in the bedroom, I had a private sanctuary, carefully organized outfits, wigs, and accessories that I treated with almost reverent care. Each item represented a different version of me, some playful, some daring, some fragile. Here, I could step out of the predictable shell of Ethan and explore what it felt like to truly transform. One evening, as the city lights flickered outside our window, Isabella challenged me in a way I hadn't anticipated. She leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, a teasing smirk tugging at her lips. "I want to see how far you'll go," she said, voice low, almost daring me. "I bet you won't spend an entire day as a woman." I froze, the words settling in my chest like ice. A bet. It wasn't just about crossdressing anymore. It was a challenge, a test of courage and desire, of secret fantasies I had barely admitted even to myself. And as I looked at her, I realized that agreeing wouldn't just be fun. It would change everything. The thrill was immediate, mingled with a sharp sting of fear. How far could I go before the world, or Isabella, discovered the truth? And more importantly, would I even want to go back once the day was over? The night before the bet, I couldn't sleep. Every corner of the apartment felt alive, as if it knew what I was about to do. I paced the bedroom, my fingers brushing over the silky skirts and soft blouses I had carefully chosen months ago, each one a silent witness to my secret life. The thrill of the bet pulsed through me, a mixture of fear, excitement, and something deeper I couldn't name. Isabella had a way of turning my fantasies into reality. She didn't just challenge me, she saw the possibility inside me before I even acknowledged it myself. "Tomorrow," she said with that mischievous glint in her eyes, "you're going to walk in my shoes, literally." Her words echoed in my mind as I stared at the mirror, imagining the transformation, imagining myself as someone entirely different. Morning arrived too soon. The sun poured through the blinds, and I could feel my heart thundering in my chest. I had prepared for this day in secret, but nothing could have readied me for the flood of emotions as I began. First came the clothing, soft fabrics sliding against my skin, the gentle tug of stockings, the precise fit of a skirt that made me acutely aware of every curve. Every piece I put on shifted something inside me. I wasn't just dressing up, I was stepping into another life, another identity. The mirror became my confessional. I traced the contours of my face, applying makeup with trembling hands. Each stroke was both thrilling and terrifying. The mascara elongated my lashes, the blush highlighted my cheekbones, and the lipstick, bold and unfamiliar, transformed the way I looked, and the way I felt. I was exposed and hidden all at once, a paradox that made my pulse quicken. As I studied myself, a wave of vulnerability crashed over me. Would Isabella see me this way and accept it, or laugh, judge, or worse, see through the act and pull me back into the life I'd been hiding from? I couldn't deny the excitement that mingled with fear. This bet was no longer a simple game, it was a test of courage, identity, and desire. By mid-morning, I was ready. The heels clicked against the hardwood floor as I moved cautiously, each step a reminder of how different I felt. The world outside seemed sharper, more dangerous, and yet somehow more vibrant. Every shadow in the apartment, every reflection in the glass, became a potential exposure, a threat to the secret I'd nurtured for years. Then came Isabella's call. She wasn't coming home early, she said, but she wanted updates. Her voice, playful yet commanding, sent shivers down my spine. I described the outfit, the makeup, even the trembling excitement in my voice, trying to mask how much this was consuming me. "You sound different," she teased, and I realized she wasn't just watching. She was orchestrating the entire experience, feeding the suspense with every word. Hours passed, each one stretching longer than the last. I practiced walking, speaking, even gesturing in ways I had only imagined before. Every movement was a delicate dance between confidence and fear. The thrill of the transformation clashed with the anxiety of potential discovery. One knock on the door, one unexpected visitor, could unravel everything. As the day wore on, I began to lose track of who I was, or rather, which version of myself I belonged to. The reflection in the mirror no longer seemed like Ethan, but someone else entirely, a woman poised, fragile, and defiant all at once. The exhilaration was intoxicating, and I realized that the line between play and reality was blurring faster than I had ever expected. By evening, the suspense had reached a fever pitch. Shadows stretched across the room, the city lights flickered through the blinds, and my heartbeat matched the rhythm of the heels clicking across the floor. Every creak, every sound outside the apartment became a possible threat. I couldn't shake the feeling that Isabella could walk through the door at any moment, and with her arrival everything I had built, every careful detail of my transformation, could be exposed. The night became a battlefield of emotions. Excitement, fear, desire, shame, and thrill collided in a storm I couldn't control. And yet, even in the chaos, there was a sense of liberation I had never felt before. This bet, this challenge was reshaping me, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and in ways I hadn't anticipated. Every passing hour pushed me further into uncharted territory, forcing me to confront the parts of myself I had hidden even from my own mind. The heels, the makeup, the clothes, they were no longer props. They were tools, symbols, and keys unlocking a deeper understanding of who I could be if I dared to risk it all. The apartment felt alive in ways I hadn't imagined. Shadows crept along the walls, cast by the flickering city lights outside, making every object seem like it could betray me. My heels clicked nervously across the hardwood as I paced the room, adjusting the hem of the skirt I'd grown into like a second skin. My reflection in the mirror stared back, a stranger and yet familiar, vulnerable, defiant, and exhilarated all at once. Then came the first knock. Sharp. Unexpected. My heart lurched. "Ethan, are you home?" The voice wasn't Isabella's. Panic surged. I hadn't prepared for visitors. Who could it be? My mind raced through possibilities. Neighbors? A delivery? Someone from the office? Every scenario ended in disaster. I froze, trying to suppress the thrill that had been building all day. The knock came again, louder this time. My carefully curated world, the sanctuary I had built for myself, was under threat. I debated hiding, running, pretending nothing was amiss. But the moment my hand reached for the door handle, a part of me wanted to face the risk head-on. Breath held, I cracked the door. There stood Jenna, my neighbor from across the hall, holding a package. Her eyes widened instantly, not in judgment, but in sheer surprise. "Wow. Ethan?" she asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and fascination. The spell of secrecy shattered. Panic surged, but so did a strange, liberating thrill. For the first time, someone else saw me like this, not just in glimpses but fully. I stammered, words failing me. Jenna's eyes scanned me, lingering on the makeup, the heels, the skirt, and finally she smiled, a mischievous, knowing smile that sent shivers down my spine. "You look incredible," she said softly. My heart pounded, a mixture of relief and embarrassment flooding me. The danger wasn't gone, but the emotional tension twisted into something more complex, validation, desire, and fear tangled together. But there was no time to savor it. The real challenge loomed, Isabella's imminent return. I had spent the day teetering on the edge of discovery, and now the stakes had escalated. Every sound outside the apartment, every whisper of movement, made me flinch. Minutes felt like hours. Then, the door clicked, the unmistakable key in the lock. Isabella. I turned to face her, frozen in a posture I didn't realize I'd struck. The room seemed to shrink around me. My reflection in the mirror, my heels, my skirt, my makeup, all of it was exposed, and yet somehow, my nerves thrummed with an electric mix of fear and anticipation. Her gaze swept the room, and I could see it, the surprise, the assessment, the curiosity. She didn't say anything at first. Just looked. And in that moment, every second stretched, suspended between judgment and acceptance. "You actually did it," she finally said, a hint of disbelief in her voice, mixed with something else I couldn't name. Relief surged, only to be instantly tempered by the unknown. Would she laugh? Scold me? Celebrate the audacity? Before I could react, her expression shifted. A challenge sparkled in her eyes. "But can you handle this, fully?" She stepped closer, circling me like a predator inspecting its prey. My pulse raced. The bet wasn't just about wearing clothes anymore. It was about proving something deeper, surviving the scrutiny, surviving the duality of who I was. Then the unthinkable happened. My heel caught on the edge of the rug. I stumbled, flailing to regain balance. The skirt rode up, the wig slipped slightly, and for a heartbeat, everything seemed to unravel. Isabella's eyes widened. The danger, the exposure, the thrill, it all peaked in that instant. I froze, breath catching in my throat, vulnerability raw. And then, something shifted. Isabella didn't recoil. She didn't scold. She laughed, soft, teasing, and utterly captivating. "You're stunning," she whispered, the tension dissolving into a mix of admiration and challenge. But the night wasn't over. A sudden buzz from the intercom jolted me, another visitor. Anxiety surged anew. Could I maintain the act? Could I protect this fragile persona I had built? My mind raced through options, every choice loaded with consequence. I realized, in that dizzying mix of fear, excitement, and desire, that this bet was no longer temporary. It wasn't just a test. It was a transformation that had reshaped me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Every stumble, every glance, every whispered word was forging a version of me I couldn't ignore. And just as I began to steady myself, the doorbell rang again. This time, the sound wasn't just startling. It was a signal that the stakes had escalated beyond anything I could control. I swallowed, heart hammering, as Isabella's teasing smile promised that the night, and my challenge, was far from over. The apartment was silent, save for my shaky breaths and the soft click of heels against the floor. Every nerve in my body screamed with anticipation and fear. Isabella had been watching me all evening, her gaze unrelenting, teasing, yet approving in a way I hadn't expected. I wanted to savor the moment, to feel the thrill of her attention, but there was no time. Something had shifted in the air, a sense of impending revelation that tightened my chest. I glanced at the mirror, at the reflection that had become a stranger and yet, somehow, a truer version of me. The wig sat slightly askew, the skirt still clung to my legs, and the heels made every movement a careful balancing act. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and, unexpectedly, alive. Then came the knock on the door. Not Isabella's. Not Jenna's. Someone else. The sharp, insistent rapping made my heart leap. My mind raced. A neighbor? A delivery? Or worse, someone who could unravel everything I had worked to protect? I froze, caught between the desire to hide and the thrill of being seen in this transformed state. The seconds stretched into eternities. Each knock, each creak in the hallway, felt like a countdown to disaster. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing pulse. And then, the door opened. A shadow filled the frame, tall, confident, deliberate. I couldn't make out the face immediately, but instinctively, I knew this moment would define everything. Every secret, every hidden desire, every step of transformation hung in the balance. "Ethan," the voice called softly. A mixture of curiosity and recognition trembled in the tone. My stomach dropped. The tension was unbearable. Would they accept this version of me, or reject it entirely? I wanted to speak, to explain, to beg for understanding, but the words caught in my throat. My reflection in the mirror seemed to mock me, showing a vulnerability I had never fully confronted before. Isabella's presence behind me was a comforting anchor, yet it only heightened the stakes. Her teasing grin suggested she already knew the outcome, but she wasn't going to give me any hints. This was my moment, my test, my secret on the line. The visitor stepped closer, and the faint click of heels, my heels, echoed in the room, marking every heartbeat, every choice. My pulse raced as I realized that the world outside had no idea who I was in this moment. I could vanish into the night, retreat into safety, or face the unknown and risk everything. A sudden realization hit me: the bet was never just about crossdressing. It was about trust, courage, identity, and the unspoken question of whether I could embrace this part of myself fully. Every glance from the mirror, every shiver of anticipation, every trembling breath was a reminder that I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. The visitor stopped at the threshold, silence heavy between us. Time seemed to freeze. The apartment held its breath. And then, a slow, deliberate smile appeared. One that made my heart both soar and shatter simultaneously. Isabella leaned close, whispering in my ear, "Looks like you're not just trapped in this bet. You're trapped in yourself now." And just like that, the world tilted. I was caught between fear and exhilaration, desire and dread, knowing that nothing would ever be the same. The mirror reflected two versions of me, one that everyone knew, and one that I had finally allowed to exist. And then the door clicked shut. Except the sound wasn't the visitor leaving, it was someone entering behind them. My pulse doubled. My secret, my transformation, my very identity, everything hung in the balance. I froze, heart pounding, as the shadows in the room shifted, leaving me with one chilling thought: the game wasn't over. It had only just begun.